So there's more people, a boy, a girl, a small child, also a girl, people with a pendant, and four of them driving around the street. So they start smashing stuff inside this huge shop. The shop is just filled with material, but no one to stop them, so they just go about destroying it purely for fun.
For fun.
And there's no one to say anything about it.
Yeah, so there's something fun about destroying things, vandalism. Yes, so like you can see that there are a lot of young kids, you know, teenagers. They vandalize things, you know. Yeah, but why? What's so fun about destroying things, smashing things? Eh? Id. Yes, the id. Yeah, so you know, when you're younger, you are not yet completely molded by the society, and therefore you actually see the id being more prominent during your childhood years. You become more controlled as you grow older, as you hit adulthood. So yeah, this is why you see that children, teenagers, they can, you know, throw tantrums, and these tantrums can get pretty violent. They break things, smash things, because it's fun. Yes, or like, you know, in the, what do you call that? Colosseum? Yes, there is the Roman Colosseum, which is, of course, now in ruins. But yes, so this is like an amphitheater. I mean, it's in ruins now, but during the, you know, peak of the Roman Empire, this used to be an amphitheater. I mean, it's a seating arrangement. বুঝছো? নিচের গোল জায়গাটায়, it's like this. See, this is the plan. Can you see?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so in নিচের গোল জায়গাটায়, there used to be performances. And then এই যে উপরের এগুলো কিন্তু rows of seats. Okay, these are all rows of many rows of seats. So people used to sit all around the stage, the center stage, and watch these performances. So what were these performances? They were gladiators fighting each other to death. Have you watched the movie Gladiator? Yes, that's true. Yeah. Yes. Do you know what are gladiators? Who were gladiators? Gladiator. Yes. So they were basically prisoners. They were prisoners. Either they were traitors, so, you know, they were put into prison for their treacherous actions, or they were same thing, political prisoners, or they were, for whatever crime they had committed, they were in prison, and they were made to come to this amphitheater, to this Colosseum, and fight each other. And there were thousands of Romans sitting and watching them kill each other. Okay, so the last man standing alive would be let free. And, you know, I don't know, the 10, 20 other men who would be dead by the end of the performance, well, they would just be dead. And this was a form of entertainment for the Romans. It was entertainment. Seeing men kill each other was entertainment. Also, there would be wild animals released. So it wasn't just men killing each other. It was also wild animals, you know, put there. Starving lions and bulls, yes, they would be put there. And so these gladiators, they didn't just have to fight each other, they also had to fight these wild animals. Yes, Nata.
Ma'am, not just Romans and yeah, this was also done by Vikings, and then in many Afghani Taliban culture, it's still
Yes.
এখনো
Yes.
হয় এটা, because I don't know if you everybody remembers, but আরেকদিন আমি বলেছিলাম যে Thousand Splendid
That is done.
Suns এর last day, Mariam dies like that, and there were spectators watching her get killed. Like এরকম একটা অ্যাম্ফিথিয়েটারের মতো জায়গাতে, like that's how Khaled Hosseini described the place. So these kind of things are, I think, still in practice in some places of the world.
Right, right, right. Yes, yes.
I watched a documentary once
Yeah.
about young men and women who join terrorist groups.
Okay.
And one reason they mentioned was that they are brainwashed to believe that they will be rewarded for killing people.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
So you are actively encouraging their innermost desire for
Yes, yes,
harm.
yes, yes.
And I read another book regarding why people join the army. One was for earning a livelihood, one was for family tradition, one is for patriotic purpose, and the final one is that you get paid and awarded for killing people. You want punishment. And I said,
Wow. Interesting. So let me just repeat what he said here.
Doctor been delivered to all psychopaths.
Oh, I know, I know, I know. So let me just repeat what Kishore was saying here, because I don't think you heard him. So at first, the first point you mentioned was what? Oh, the terrorists. Yes. So terrorists, the way that they're brainwashed is like, if you kill people, you're actually going to heaven because you're killing the infidels. So killing is actually encouraged. And a lot of these men and women, they're actually attracted to that. They like the idea of being able to kill and then be rewarded for it. So কি বলবো, their conscience doesn't have to work anymore. See, the conscience tells you, don't kill. The id may be like, well, be aggressive. so yeah, so conscience টা একদম বন্ধ করে দেয়. So they don't feel, they don't flinch, they don't hesitate to kill. Yes, that's one. And the other thing that you mentioned was joining the army. So there were a few reasons. Where was this? Where's?
This was
But মানে কোত্থেকে, মানে কোন জায়গার? Okay, so some US military veteran apparently said, you've read it, that one of the reasons why the men are encouraged to join the army, right? Yes. এটা হলো একটা হলো যে you can actually kill without being punished for it. Like you're licensed to kill. You're licensed to kill. So yeah, there are, I mean, there are actually people still who are encouraging such acts of violence and aggression, and yet making it legal or moral in different ways. Yes. Okay, Rahma is saying in Saudi Arabia, people are publicly stoned and whipped for certain crimes, and people are encouraged to come and watch. Yes, all the punishments take place publicly. So even public, I think they also, yeah, like, if you steal, your hand is chopped off. Public executions also take place. Yeah. In most countries, these sorts of punishments are behind closed doors. Like, একজন আসামিকে যখন ফাঁসির verdict দেওয়া হয়, you're not allowed to go and watch. I guess it will normalize violence for you. But এটা Saudi Arabia তে এখনো হয়, like all these punishments are actually meted out publicly. which normalizes the violence for people. Yeah. Okay, Rahma is saying they believe it scares people away from these crimes. Yes, true, true. I mean, you cannot completely abolish crimes just based on the punishments that are given by the state. You know, the punishment for murder is death by hanging, according to the Bangladeshi laws, but people still murder. So yeah, that's again another question to think about. Okay, Onindo bolche, isn't it more bizarre in the story that there is sacrifice without the mentioning of God? Yes, that's true. That's not the focus of the story, you know. Yeah, it's not like they mention, okay, we have to, you know, have this human sacrifice in order to please the gods of rain, or, you know, the sun god. হ্যাঁ, এরকম কিছু বলছে না, মানে কোনো গডের মেনশন করছে না, and yet they keep doing it in the hopes of having good crops. So where is the religiosity behind such a brutal act? Where is, you know, what is the logic behind this? Like, if they mentioned that, oh, it's in our, you know, pagan religion, and so we do it, তারপরেও, you know, justify করা যেত, okay, it's their belief, you can't really say anything about their religious beliefs, but that's not mentioned here either. Then why do they do it? That's what makes it more bizarre. You're right, Onindo. Yes, it's yes, yeah, exactly. So it's not like this is happening like hundreds of years ago, or in you know, in the prehistoric or medieval times. No, this is pretty modern, because we know that the farmers use tractors. The children go to school. So yeah, I don't think they're actually following the pagan religion that their ancestors may have followed many generations ago. No, I don't think so, because nahala mention korto, you know, there would be some mention of it. So they've gotten.
Yes, it's like a public holiday, I guess.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Not just, okay, they've also destroyed, understandably. Everything ends at one point. But they've also given up a lot of their tradition and customs regarding this specific ceremony.
Yes.
Surely they would have written it down or held on to it firmly.
Yes.
Even their own bad people.
Yes, true. Even the oldest man in the village doesn't really know everything about the lottery, because the lottery in its true form, you know, is not the same as the lottery that's practiced in this village at present. Onek kichu change hoyeche, onek kichu, a lot of things have been forgotten.
Apart from pragmatically, for example, using papers or wood, but others,
হ্যাঁ। Okay, let me forgotten. এই যে দেখো, এখানে লেখাই আছে, because so much of the ritual had been forgotten or discarded. You see, খালি ওটুকটাই রেখেছে যে at the end of this lottery someone will have to be stoned to death. ওটুকটা, you know, has remained, but the lottery process itself has changed over time. For example, in the past, they used to use chips of wood, but now they use pieces of paper. So yeah, there you go. why can't, if they could discard some sort of pagan religion, and if they could discard a lot of the aspects of this ritual, why can't they just discard the whole ritual? Yeah. Anindo bolche, your belief justify your evil work, that's why Talibans do not have PTSD. Oh, that's actually brilliant. That's brilliant. Yes, it's true. It's true. Like, if you have this firm belief, you have a sense of conviction that ami jeta korchi, it's actually the right thing. It's actually going to open the doors of heaven for me. Then there's no sense of guilt. Then there's no conscience working. There's no guilty conscience then. So Anindo jigesh korche, I am thinking what belief is justifying their sacrifice. There isn't any. That's the bizarre part. There isn't any. They're just doing it blindly. I think that's the whole point of writing this story. You need to start questioning rituals and cultural practices that have been going on for generations, because why do you do it? Where's the justification behind them? Can you think of any specific ritual that is done in this subcontinent, or especially in Bangladesh, that may actually not make any sense?
Yes, ma'am.
What's that?
ম্যাম, হিন্দু ধর্মে তো এরকম ম্যাম সতীদাহ প্রথা একটা ছিল ম্যাম, যেখানে হাজবেন্ড মারা যাওয়ার পরে ম্যাম মেয়েদেরকেও সাথে ম্যাম মানে বার্ন করা হতো ওদের।
এটা তো এখনো নাই, ইটস গন লং এগো।
মানে এই সাবকন্টিনেন্টে এটা ছিল ম্যাম।
হিন্দু ধর্মে, এখানে তো মুসলিম ধর্মেও অনেক কিছু এরকম করে, লাইক ইটস নট জাস্ট ইন আওয়ার ধর্ম, অনেক ধর্মে।
আচ্ছা,
এখানে ট্রিগার হওয়ার কিছু না, আমি জাস্ট এমনি বললাম।
I know. It's okay. So yes, the sati tradition, it really didn't make any sense, but
ম্যাম
actually it doesn't
সবচেয়ে
exist.
এখনো যেটা হয়, ওই যে মুসলিমদের মধ্যে শিয়া আর সুন্নি যে ডিফারেন্ট ভাগটা, মেবি শিয়া যারা, ওরা যে নিজেদের মারে মুহররমের সময়, ওইটাই তো খুবই অ্যাবসার্ড।
Yes, true.
এটাই তো একটা এক্সাম্পল যেটা এখনো হচ্ছে।
Yes, I can actually talk about that because it's not a religious ritual. It's not. It's
এক্স্যাক্টলি,
nowhere.
ইসলামে কিন্তু ভায়োলেন্স একদম নিষেধ, বাট স্টিল দে ডু ইট।
No, violence নিষেধের কথা না, এটা হলো গিয়ে এটা রিলিজিয়াস স্ক্রিপচারে নাই। It doesn't exist in the Quran or the Hadith to, inflict self-harm during Ashura. This is not there. It doesn't exist in the religious scriptures, which is why I can talk about it. I don't want to actually talk about things that are like religious laws. For example, some people have a problem with, the Qurbani Eid. So I don't want to talk about that because it's a law. So, I don't want to piss anybody off. That's fine. But I can actually talk about how the Shia Muslims, they really inflict a lot of self-harm upon themselves on a particular. Actually, you should go to Iran and see what they do. So, Iran is the only Shia country in the world. Purely Shia, like 90% Shia. Okay, yeah, the whole country, right? And the people who belong to minority faiths, they're persecuted against, including the Baha'is. But that's another story. So in Iran, I will just Google and show you Iran Muharram. Okay, Muharram is the name of the month. You know that? Hello?
Yes, miss.
Yes, ma'am.
পুরা মাসটা ওরা এই কাজ করে। Let me just show you some images.
স্পেসিফিক্যালি হচ্ছে আশুরার দিন একদম রাস্তাঘাটে
না না,
নেমে
ওটা শুধু বাংলাদেশে, ওটা শুধু বাংলাদেশে। ইরানে সারাটা মাস এই কাজ করে, the whole month, because it's the only Shia country in the world. So শুধু আশুরা না, সারাটা মাস এই কাজটা করে। Let me just write self-harm. Yes. See, this is what they do to themselves. Okay? Yeah. You have no idea what they do to themselves in Iran. It's insane. Bangladeshe, kichu na, nothing.
1% or not, miss?
Eh?
1% or not?
1%. You don't know what they do. It's too horrific. It's too horrific, which is why you must never ever visit Iran during the month of Ashura. And Ashura is basically the month of mourning. Ashura boli, Muharram. Muharram is basically the month of mourning. So everybody wears black. You will see that for example here, you see all the women are wearing black. You see? They're all wearing black. Some people actually wear white so that their blood is more visible. You can see even children are involved in this process. This is not fake blood, by the way. And they take it very, very seriously. Yeah, you can see, they're wearing black. And why do they do this? Why do they do this? Do you know?
মিস ওদের এটা হচ্ছে হাসান এন্ড হুসেন তাদের যেভাবে মারা হয়েছিল ওরা নিজেদের সেভাবে টর্চার করে।
Yes,
It's actually got to do with guilt. It's actually got to do with remorse. They are so remorseful because Hassan and Hussein were killed by the Muslims themselves. They were not killed by non-Muslims. Okay, so it like Hassan and Hussein, they were assassinated by Muslims themselves. And this is why the Shia Muslims feel very guilty. It's not like the Shias killed them. Shia mane sect ta to aro pore hoyeche, but ora oi guiltটাকে এখনো ধরে রেখেছে. It's like, don't think that the Shias are the কি বলবো the descendants of the killers. No, that's not the case. But ওরা ওই গিল্টটাকে প্রকাশ করতে চায়. So during this month of Muharram, they actually inflict self-harm as a way to apologize to God, just to express how sorry they are for what was done to Hassan and Hussein. And they feel that perhaps, I don't know, maybe the blood will wash away their sins. Something like that.
Whereas মিস ইসলামে কিন্তু সেলফ হার্ম হারাম। সো এটা হিপোক্রেসি আমার মনে হয়।
ইয়েস ম্যাম, এটা ম্যাম ইসলামে বলা হয়নি করার জন্য ম্যাম।
না এটাই তো, এই জন্যই তো এটা ডিসকাস করতে পারছি আমরা, কারণ এটা যদি কোনো ইসলামিক ল হয়ে থাকতো আমি এটা নিয়ে ডিসকাশনে যাইতামই না। Okay, but this is not an Islamic law. It's not an Islamic tradition. You know, it's nowhere mentioned in the holy scriptures. It's something that was made up much later by the Shia community. So they want to feel the pain that Hassan and Hussein went through, and they want to express remorse, guilt. So yeah, this is a crazy ritual. For what? I mean, God doesn't have to see you expressing guilt by harming your body. If you want, you express, you pray. God sees the hearts, right? And if you believe in God, then you know that He will know what's in your heart. Okay, you don't have to publicly express your guilt or your remorse by cutting yourself up. You can pray. You can pray all day, all month, and say you're sorry, or please forgive the Muslims for what they did to Hassan and Hussein, and pray for the souls of Hassan and Hussein. Ita kora jay, because God sees the hearts. He doesn't have to see your bloodied body. Do you agree? Do you understand?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, Snata.
Yes, ma'am. That's what I was going to say, because if I was going to talk about the sati practice that someone else brought up,
Yeah.
us Hindus, we go abide by the laws of Vedas and Valmiki Ramayana and Gita, right? So sati isn't actually introduced in Vedas. এগুলো কিন্তু religious scriptures এ নেই.
Nice.
So এগুলো কিন্তু কতগুলো ritualistic practices, and the Brahmins came up with them for God
That's
knows what
true.
reason, because of the raging patriarchal society, and মেয়েদেরকে কোনো একভাবে you know মানে দমন করে রাখার যে চেষ্টাটা, এটার জন্যই কিন্তু এই সতী প্র্যাকটিসটা তখন হয়েছিল, কিন্তু এটা কিন্তু আমাদের রিলিজনে নেই, বেদাসে
Nice.
এটা মেনশনই নেই, সো
No,
দ্যাটস
no,
ওয়াই
no.
ইটস নট
This
রিয়েলি
was an invention of the Brahmins.
yeah,
like
it's not a
like
Hindu
you
practice,
said.
as in like it's not a religious practice. It
No.
has no mention in the Vedas, so that's what I
Yes,
just
and thankfully, this practice, this ritual has been eliminated. So
yes, a long time
it's
ago,
no
I
longer
think.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a Bengali queen brought an end to it.
I don't know about that. Yeah, I have to do some
yeah.
research. When did it end? And
In Calcutta, I think.
oh, I see.
Yeah, a Bengali queen actually bought an end to
Raja
it.
Ram Mohan Rai tried to
Yes,
start
yes,
with
yes.
this.
That's them.
He did it.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
nice.
that's them.
That was like I think at least a century ago or long before that.
Yes, ma'am. At least a century.
Yeah. Yes, but at least but it still continued afterwards, even after it was banned. বেশ কয়েক বছর এটা চলছে in remote villages, but I don't think it happens anymore.
ম্যাম, এটা কিন্তু ইয়াতেও ছিল যে যখন মুঘল এম্পায়াররা ইন্ডিয়াতে আসলো না, তখনও কিন্তু মুসলিমদের মধ্যেও এটা প্র্যাকটিস শুরু হয়ে গেছিল। আই ডোন্ট নো হু স্প্রেড ইট। এটা মুঘল এম্পায়াররা যখন ইন্ডিয়াকে করলো, লাইক when they invaded India, even among the Mughals this was a widespread practice. Like
Okay,
they carried it out like a ritual when other people tried to invade them.
Oh,
So,
okay, okay. I don't know about that, but yet, gladly, thankfully, people started questioning this stupid ritual, and it was brought to an end. So, oitai, you need to
Yes,
start
ma'am.
questioning things around you, instead of just blindly following them. Yeah. Okay, so there's something interesting in this story. I know it's a little far-fetched, but আমি তারপরেও এটা বলতে চাচ্ছি. See here, the postmaster, Mr. Graves, followed him. Bolte, I think Mr. Summers, carrying a three-legged stool. And the stool was put in the center of the square, and Mr. Summers set the black box on it. Just this sentence. Just this one sentence. So there's a three-legged stool involved, and the black box, the lottery box, was put on top of this three-legged stool. I like to do some intertextual comparisons and things like that. So this three-legged stool really, I couldn't ignore it, because when I think of the number 3, I think of the faiths. I don't know if you've heard of the faiths. The faiths. Fates. Yes, so this is according to Greek mythology. According to Greek mythology, there are 3 sisters, and combined, they are known as the Fates, or also Moirai. The Romans call them what? Oh, okay, Roman mythology তেও আছে. They did. So Greek and Roman mythology onek similarities ache. Anyway, so these three sisters, I'm going to show you some images. See, what they do is they have, they weave. Okay, you do see this thread in their arms, in their hands? Thread, ekta shuta dekhte paccho, shutata?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
তো এদের হাতে মানুষের লাইফটাই একটা সুতার মতন সুতা, ঠিক আছে? when they want you to die they'll cut the thread, ঠিক আছে? যখন যখন থ্রেডটা বা সুতাটা কেটে দিবে, that's when you die. And the first time I got to know about the fates was in a cartoon, in a Disney cartoon, Hercules. Have you watched it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Disney cartoon Hercules, they're actually portrayed as very ugly old hags. এখানে কিন্তু খুব সুন্দর দেখাচ্ছে. They look like really beautiful young women, but you know there are different artistic representations of the fates. So in some cases they look really ugly like this. You know, this is how they were shown even in Hercules, the cartoon. So you can see that they are ekta shuta kintu oder hate ache. So they can actually play with your life. Your life lies in their hands. And you can see in this photo, you see one of the sisters, she's holding a scissor. That means she's ready to cut the thread of your life. You know, in other words, whoever's thread that she's cutting is going to die. Yeah, so, and also they're blind, by the way. They're blind, they only share one single eye. You can read about the Moirai or the fates whenever you like. You know, you can just do a...
They have, appeared spontaneously from all parts of the world, and for a long time they've been completely isolated from one another. Yet the similarities, whether it comes to weapons or culture or even language or even religion, the similarities are here.
Yeah, lots of similarities.
For those who believe in polytheism, our religion or the Greeks or the Nordic, their deities and their domains, their characteristics are so similar to one another. You think that they are all truths from a single
source.
So it's wonder, like, how did all of them from different parts of the world come up with a similar idea? Because this idea of three women controlling your life, even the Nordic religion.
Really?
You just look on the norms.
What do I...
N-O-R,
Norse. Oh, yeah, Norse mythology. Oh, Norse. Okay, so the Nordic countries also have something very similar. Interesting. Norns. Oh, that's what they're called in Norse mythology. Norns. They're, Germanic fates. Yeah, it says here, they are similar to the Moirai and fates of Greco-Roman myth. So Greek, Roman, and then now Norse mythology, they all have something, very similar concept. Very interesting. Yeah, different civilizations coming up with... Yeah.
For example, the Norse religion has Thor.
Thor. Yes. Similar. There are many similarities. Despite the fact that back then it was impossible to communicate with one another. It's not like they've copied off of each other. It's not like the world was a global village like it is now, and yet you see these similarities in their belief systems. Very interesting. So yeah, so when I read this part, that there's a three-legged stool on top of which there is the black box, I thought of the faiths. So what does, what can you make of this? How can you bring in the faiths here in this context? Okay, I see a few hands raised. Snata?
Ma'am, the three-legged stool, can I just add something?
Oh,
It
yes,
may
sure.
seem a little far-fetched as well, but you know how occult practices have a few symbols and signs like the pentagon and the devil's horns and stuff?
Yes, yes.
So to me, the three-legged stool seemed like a triangle,
Yeah.
which is also a symbol for cult rituals. So
Oh, I see.
yeah, and sometimes they do use tools and stools like that. এরকম three-legged stools, এরকম use করে for rituals like that. So to me, it seemed like that because
Like
this
an
is
occult practice.
yeah, like that.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Interesting. That's interesting. Short stories.
One of the stories they mentioned number 3, part of the way he described it, how he found it so fascinating. With the 3 looking represents me, you, the other person, father, mother, child, yesterday, today,
Tomorrow.
also similar. Even the Christian with the Father, the Son,
Holy Spirit.
there's a similarity that people come with.
Yeah.
No matter how different we might look or act, there is always these little things that kind of brings us all
Together. Yes, yes, true. No. Okay, let's see. Rahma is saying because women in power will almost always be demonized. But when did you say this? Under what context?
When you were showing the fates having like ugly faces in some contexts.
Oh, right. So yes. Okay. Yes.
Like even Ursula is shown to have like strange features.
Yes. I agree that in many artistic representations of the faiths, you see them looking very demonic, like here. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Also, to add to the stool in the lottery, I was thinking you related the stool to the fates because, at the end of the day, this does decide the fates of the people, their destiny. Like if they live or die at the end of this.
Exactly. Absolutely. That's how I was connecting the dots. Somehow this lottery box that's actually placed on top of the three-legged stool decides who is going to die. And the fates, the three sisters, according to many mythologies, as we could see, according to Greek mythology, Roman mythology, and Norse mythology, it's the fates that actually decide, well, your fate. Yeah, they decide your fate when you're going to die. Who's going to be next in line to die? Yes, that's how I connected them. Okay, but there were some other hands raised. I think one was Mahbubur. I can't see any hands raised right now.
It's wonderful how these societies turn so patriarchal with such powerful female figures in their family. Even our religion, like our creator is also female. She created the Trinity, or 3 primary gods.
But you see, in Hinduism, don't mind me saying this. I think that a lot of Hindus, they actually worship the goddesses like onek extreme bhabe, like the way that they, like in Bengal region, the way that they worship Durga is unparalleled. She is the strongest goddess, right?
She is supposed to be
the creator, right?
even when they say that we have 3 primary gods of our creation,
Wow. So you can, yeah. But and yet patriarchy is so strong in the Hindu religion. Yeah, that's a very good question. You know, when there are such powerful goddesses in polytheistic religions, then why the patriarchy? Yeah, it's a good question to think about. Yes, Nata?
Yes, ma'am. I do agree because we do have like the on the context on which we're speaking, we do have an exact demon goddess, and her name is Kali.
Kali.
She goes by the name another name Shama. So even she is like she's basically the face of femininity.
Yes.
Like she's the face of feminine anger and revolution and
I know.
everything that has to do with that.
She was about to destroy the world,
Yes,
right?
yes, she was, and she
And
actually, yeah,
she was
she's like
even
a
look at what she's wearing.
yes,
Look at
and
what
she
she's
danced on someone's body যেখানে
yes.
দেখা যাচ্ছে একটু
Yes,
দেখেন
yes.
এখানে like she's holding men's heads in her hand and it's a very মানে beautiful story actually.
হ্যাঁ।
So I know a lot of people think that we worship demons, but
No,
that's
no.
actually not the thing. There's a very dark history attached to Ma Kali's,
Yes, 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 I know.
disappearance actually.
And if I'm not wrong, they're actually the same person.
Yes, they are. These are
Durga and
different.
Kali, they're
Yes,
actually
they're
the
different
same
forms of
goddess.
one another. They're different forms of one another.
Yes, yes. Durga and Kali are actually the same goddess. Durga actually transforms. She got so pissed off, yeah, that she becomes Kali. This, as it says here, master of.
Yes, I thought it was Parvati.
No.
Parvati turns into Kali.
Right. Ah, I see, I see, I see. Uh-huh. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes. Absolutely, absolutely. I really believe that. Yeah, yeah, I absolutely agree. So, you know, all these gods and goddesses, they're basically the different aspects of the same creator. Yes, yes, I absolutely agree with that. Yes, I know, Mahbubur, I'm sorry, I know you can't hear Ishore here. There's only one student here, but it's hard. It's hard taking hybrid classes because you can't hear the students here. So that there's like this, maybe a couple of minutes of confusion at times. Yes, on Indo, Kali is the present representation of eternal chaos. Yeah. Yes. Anyway, so where were we? Okay, so yeah, we were talking about the three-legged stool and how the black box was put on this three-legged stool. So the three-legged stool actually reminded me of the Fates or the Moirai or whatever you want to name them, which appeared in different mythologies in the past. They're the ones who actually decide your fate when you're going to die. So I felt that that was a connection that I could make here. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, I have a question for you. Do you think that, you know, if the villagers were more, let's say, sophisticated, you know, in terms of, I don't know, I don't want to make any Like, it's after all, it's a village, right? Oh, you're online. Why did you go online? Hello? Why did you go online? Oh, but then I think there will be echo. I don't know. Anyway, so going back to my question. My question was, what if these villagers were, not villagers? What if this was not a village? What if this was like some kind of a mega city or a metropolitan city, and the villagers were not farmers and wives of farmers? Instead, what if they were like, working in corporate offices, or what if they were scientists and researchers and pilots and whatnot? So do you think the story would have still made sense then, or no?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you think?
ম্যাম এখানে আমার মনে হয় যে টেনশনের অভাবটা থাকতো এখানে, যে একটা আমি সেদিন বলছিলাম এখানে একটা ইউটোপিয়ান একটা ব্যাপার স্যাপার বোঝাচ্ছে, যে পিসফুল সোসাইটি, এমনি সোসাইটিতে কোনো টেনশন নাই। কিন্তু ওরকম একটা সোসাইটিতে তো অনেক রকম টেনশন থাকে, অনেক রকম গোল থাকে। কিন্তু এখানে যেমন মনে হচ্ছে যে কোনো কিছু না করার অভাবে মানে বেশি সুখে থেকে তাদের ওই যে ভূতে কিলাচ্ছে এরকম একটা ব্যাপার। কিন্তু ওই কনটেক্সটে মনে হয় ব্যাপারটা আসতো না।
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Right. Scientific knowledge does not translate to, wisdom in that level or even intelligence.
But there's a lot of echo. Sorry.
আচ্ছা ম্যাম,
Yes.
এটাকে কি আরেকটা লিটারেলি মানে আরেকটা লিটারেচারের সাথে তুলনা করা যাবে?
হ্যাঁ, অবশ্যই, বলো।
নাম হচ্ছে যে ব্রেভ নিউ ওয়ার্ল্ড আছে না?
কি?
ব্রেভ নিউ ওয়ার্ল্ড ম্যাম।
ও, ব্রেভ নিউ ওয়ার্ল্ড, ইয়েস।
মানে এটাকে ব্রেভ নিউ ওয়ার্ল্ডের সাথে তুলনা করা যায় না?
বলো।
আমি যদি প্রি কনটেক্সটে এটা ভাবি যে হচ্ছে ব্রেভ নিউ ওয়ার্ল্ডে যেমন হচ্ছে পৃথিবী থেকে সব লিটারেচার, সব রিলিজিয়ন তো মুছে ফেলা হয়েছিল তাদের ইতিহাস থেকে, যাতে হচ্ছে আর কি পরবর্তীতে যাতে মানে নতুন করে পিসফুলি শাসন করার জন্য। মানে এখানেও কিন্তু প্রি কনটেক্সটে এরকম মনে হয় যে কোনো রিলিজিয়ন নাই, কোনো বই নাই, কোনো কিছুর উল্লেখ নাই। তো মনে হচ্ছে যে এরকম একটা সোসাইটি করার উদ্দেশ্যেই মানে একটা মানে উদ্দেশ্যে যখন তার একটা পরবর্তী অবস্থা হচ্ছে এই গ্রামটা, এখানে এরকম ভাবা যায় না, কারণ এখানে আমরা কোনো রিলিজিয়নের উল্লেখ পাচ্ছি না। এবং মনে হচ্ছে যে আর কি এরকম একটা পিসফুল সোসাইটি করার জন্যই, যদি এরকম ইউটোপিয়ান সেন্সে হবে করার জন্য, তারপরে একটা সময় এরকম একটা অবস্থা হয় যে আলটিমেটলি তারা আর কি যেহেতু ম্যাম রিলিজিয়ানকে যদি আমরা ধরেন ম্যাম এই যে ইভিল, গুড অ্যান্ড ইভিলের যদি হচ্ছে ধরি, কনটেক্সটে ধরি, এটাকে যদি আমাদের কনসিয়াসনেস এর ম্যাপিং ধরি, এইগুলোর তো মানে এইগুলোর যখন অভাব হচ্ছে, এবং আলটিমেটলি ম্যাম যখন হচ্ছে আর কি মানে এই যে মানে ওরা আর কি কোনো কিছু মজার পাচ্ছে না, কোনো কিছু মানে এক্সাইটিং করার পাচ্ছে না, তখনই আর কি তারা আস্তে আস্তে কোন একটা ভাবে এরকম রিচুয়ালের আর কি তৈরি হয়েছে। কিন্তু বুঝাইতে পারিনি মনে হয়।
আমি বুঝি নাই। বুঝি নাই।
আচ্ছা ম্যাম, জাস্ট একটা কনটেক্সট ধরেন যে হচ্ছে ম্যাম যে এখানে হচ্ছে আর কি যে মানে এটা হচ্ছে একটা মানে ইউটোপিয়ান সোসাইটি ধরেন একটা গ্রুপ অফ পিপল তৈরি করতে চাইছে, তার একটা পরবর্তী অবস্থা হচ্ছে এটা। এবং এটার উদ্দেশ্যে তখন সোসাইটি থেকে রিলিজিয়ন বাদ দিয়ে দেওয়া হয়েছে, কারণ বাদ দেওয়ার পরে এবং সবাইকে বলতেছে এখানে বলতেছে ট্রাক্টর আছে, হ্যাঁ, কিন্তু আবার কিন্তু মানে সায়েন্সের বা প্রযুক্তির কিন্তু চারিদিকে অভাব, সবাই কিন্তু একটা মানে রুরাল ট্রেডিশনাল লাইফ লিড করতেছে। তাহলে আমরা এরকম বলতে পারি যে এরকম একটা মানে যদি আমরা মানে ব্রেভ নিউ ওয়ার্ল্ড এর কনটেক্সটে ধরি, যে আর কি মানে আমাদের সোসাইটি উন্নতি করছে, ওই অবস্থায় হুট করে আমরা মানে সোসাইটিতে শান্তি আনার জন্য আমরা প্রযুক্তি অ্যাভয়েড করে ট্রেডিশনাল রোলে ফিরে গেছি, এবং এরকম ট্রাক্টর দিয়ে আমাদের সোসাইটিতে এরকম চাষবাস চলতেছে, এবং আমাদের সব বই টই, আমাদের আগে যা বই ছিল সবকিছু মুছে ফেলা হয়েছে, মানে একদম ব্রেভ নিউ ওয়ার্ল্ড এর কনটেক্সট, ঠিক আছে? এবং এখানেও তাই হচ্ছে আর কি, সব বই পাতি
বুঝতে পারছি।
বুঝতে পারছেন?
ইন্টারেস্টিং। হ্যাঁ, বুঝতে পারছি।
হ্যাঁ, ওই অনুসারে না এটা ভেবে পড়ছি, এবং তখন আমার কাছে না সব এই যে আপনাকে সেদিন হচ্ছে যে ডেলক্রক্স এর কথাটা বললাম না,
হ্যাঁ,
ওইটাও এই কনটেক্সটে বলছিলাম যে ম্যাম ওদের তো এগুলো স্মৃতি নাই, বা কোনোভাবে যখন শুনছে ওইটাকে তারা এইভাবে আর কি ডিমনিটাইজ করতেছে আর কি, মানে
হ্যাঁ। Wow, that's very interesting.
Yes, our মনে হয়েছে ম্যাম।
Going back to your roots, right? Going back to your roots.
হ্যাঁ এই কারণে ম্যাম ট্র্যাক্টরটা আছে এখানে ম্যাম, কিন্তু ম্যাম ওরা কিন্তু তাও ট্রেডিশনাল, ওদের কিন্তু নতুন সায়েন্টিফিক কোনো ইয়ে নাই, এবং ওরা এগুলো মুছেও ফেলা হয়েছে ডকুমেন্টারি, মানে ব্রেভ নিউ ওয়ার্ল্ডে ম্যাম যা হয়েছে ম্যাম, আর কি এগুলো সব গুলাই দেওয়া হয়েছে, মুছে ফেলা হয়েছে, এইগুলাই কি আর কি কমন রুল হিসেবে বোঝানো হয়েছে আর কি।
Interesting, very interesting. It's a very interesting perspective. I never thought about it, but that's really good. What's up? Oh, you can't hear. Oh, the echo, yeah. Okay. So there's another book. There's a book called Brave New World, and who's it by?
Aldous Huxley.
Yes, Huxley. Yes, Huxley. I think it's very, it creates a very dystopian world, right? অনেক আগে পড়ছি, মনে নাই।
এখানে হচ্ছে যে আলফা মেল তৈরি করা হয় আর কি, এবং নানা রকম মানে মানুষকে আর কি হচ্ছে যে ম্যাট্রিক্স এর মতো হচ্ছে বেবিদেরকে আর কি, মানুষকে আর কি নানাভাবে মোটিভেট মানে আর কি যে মানে জেনেটিক ভাবে চেঞ্জ করে নানা রকমের মেল তৈরি করা হয়, এবং আর কি সোসাইটিতে আর কি মানে জেনেটিক ভাবে আর কি হচ্ছে আর কি একটা ক্লাস অফ পিপল তৈরি করা হয়।
Yes, I remember that. So you know they actually don't let you like they do a lot of like genetic engineering to create a certain class of people who have all the good genes,
Yes,
you know, the desirable genes. So they don't have any of the undesirable genes. এরকম একটা specific class of people তৈরি করা হয়। Yeah, and then তারপর
আর ম্যাম ওখানে কোনো আর্ট মানে কোনো আর্ট নাই, পিওর কোনো আর্ট ফর্ম নাই, পিওর কোনো মানে ক্রিয়েটিভ মিউজিক নাই, সব কিছু
there's no creativity, there's no art.
কারণ এগুলো কনফ্লিক্ট তৈরি করবে, এগুলো কোয়েশ্চেন তৈরি করবে। আর তারপর কোনো রিলিজিয়ন নাই, এবং রিলিজিয়ন আর কি অনেকটা যে ম্যাম মানে ওই যে ওরা মানে যে জর্জ অরওয়েলের 1984 এর মতো আর কি কোন একটা ব্রাদারহুড টাইপের রিলিজিয়ন আর কি।
Right. So he's drawing comparisons between the two.
Yes, ma'am.
Where you know, yes.
I mean, like we discussed previously, order and chaos. One thing is completely meaningless
without the other. And you wouldn't know what is light if you didn't have any darkness, right? Yeah. So yeah.
You see the movie
Libra.
After that, they said that all of this started because of human emotions.
Achha.
If you can suppress emotions and drive them purely through logic, you can avoid further human conflict. So they created a serum which is taken regularly.
Oh, which switches off your emotions. Yes. Wasn't it there? It actually existed. I think so. Yes, this was given to soldiers, some kind of drug that would switch off their emotions. A drug used in, I think, World War II. Let me see. Stimulants like cocaine and amphetamines to increase alertness and suppress appetite.
Miss Yaba was made just because for that.
Yaba, yes. To suppress emotions.
Yes, miss, that's Yaba.
This one? Meth, yes. Meth. What happened here? No. What happens if you have meth? ঘুম আসে না. But I think it has something to do with your emotional intelligence.
Basically, it heightens your awareness. That was the main part of Yaba.
Yeah. We don't need weak people. We only want the strong. Yeah, yes. There were these sorts of drugs used, given to soldiers, yes. But what was your point?
Point was basically they hoped that they could permanently end all human conflict by suppressing humans.
Oh, yeah,
Sean Bean and Christian Bale were the actors.
Oh, okay. Okay, so, there's this theory that if you actually suppress human emotions, then you can stop chaos from destruction. Burning down. So no emotions. Basically, you become like robots.
Even then, it was impossible because there were these rebel groups forming up who refused to take this serum. They wanted to read books. They tried to save these art pictures, copies, and actual manuscripts that allowed them to feel.
Yeah.
In a society
you can't feel. Yeah, so I think that's what's happening here too. In this story, it's almost as if these people, they're not human beings. I mean, they're Bill Hutchinson, the victim's husband. He actually tells his wife, shut up. Like, shut up. Don't try to, be so defensive. We just have to go through with this process. So he doesn't feel bad that he's going to lose his wife, and he doesn't think twice before participating in stoning her to death. But what about the children? Look, the children participate in this act of violence. Little Davy Hutchinson, Mrs. Hutchinson's youngest child, little Davy Hutchinson, the children gave him some pebbles to commit matricide. Matricide is when you murder your own mother. So yeah, so where are human emotions? They're gone. Yes, that's where things get a little hypocritical. So only when it comes to the victim herself, she keeps saying that it's not fair, it's not right. But if someone else was the victim, she wouldn't have protested. So it makes you think that, how does this village run without human emotions? I think so, because because ওর মানে মাটা তো নিজেই বলে যে আমার দুই মেয়েকেও ড্রতে পার্টিসিপেট করতে বলো, like she's willing to kill her own children as long as it's not her. Do you remember that part?
Yes, ma'am. প্রথম থেকে উনি হ্যাপি ছিলেন, মানে যখন ওনার টাইম এসেছে তখন উনি অনেক টেন্স।
Yeah, absolutely.
For that one moment when the name is being drawn in the entire village of 300 people, everyone eats for themselves.
Yes. Yeah. So that's like a kibolbo. It's like a dog eat dog world. That's not how human societies work. What about commitments? What about relationships? What about loyalty? It means nothing to them. Yeah. Okay, Anindo is saying in the time of Hitler, children would spy on their parents. Oh my God, yes, I know. There you go. So yes, this is very true. I actually saw this in a series that's on Amazon Prime. What's it called? The Man in the High Castle. I think that's what it's called. Man in the High. Yeah, The Man in the High Castle. This is all about, it's actually in a parallel universe where the Germans don't lose. So Nazism exists till today. Yeah, so it's a whole other parallel universe. Like, what would have happened if the Germans didn't lose during World War II? And so it's how Nazism prevails even till today. It's a brilliant show. It's very disturbing. As you can see, it says here it's a dystopian alternate universe. So yeah, so এখানে দেখায়, এখানে আমি দেখেছি যে children spy on their parents. It was shown in this series. So yes, Anindya, you're right. So in a world like that, who would want to live in a world like that? A lot of propaganda, yeah, a lot of brainwashing, I think that's what happened to these villagers too. They were like so brainwashed into thinking that the tradition must live on, that they were willing to act in such inhuman ways. Yeah. Yes. Stone them to death. Yeah. As long as that's done, all good. Nothing else matters. That's the. And I think they may actually feel that that's why they're still alive, and that's why they're still thriving. And so, no matter what happens, they can't get rid of the tradition. And those who preach peace do not have peace. Who said that? Who said that? Who said that? Bukowski. Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, that is. This is actually a poem. Those who preach God need God. Those who preach peace do not have peace. Those who preach peace do not have love. Oh, it's very interesting. Yeah, so maybe, these people in this village, they were preaching. I mean, they had such strong conviction about something, but in the process, they actually lost a lot. They lost their humaneness in the process. Yeah. Yeah. No, they don't even have to not try. Some of the villages have given up on the lottery. So go look at them. Are they doing fine? What about their crops? Do they have good yield of crops? If yes, then we don't need the tradition. এটাও কিন্তু করবে না, they're so blind.
ম্যাম,
Yes.
এখানে যেমন বলা হয়েছে না যে ম্যাম ওর বাচ্চারা ওকে মারতে কোনো দ্বিধাবোধ করতেছিল না, তো ম্যাম আমাদের ধর্মে এরকম একটা আছে যে ম্যাম এটাকে আইয়ামে জাহলিয়া যুগ বলা হইতো। প্রফেট মুহাম্মদ সাল্লাল্লাহু আলাইহি সাল্লাম তখন মেবি জন্মগ্রহণ করেছেন বা এখনো করেনি, ওই টাইমে ম্যাম মেয়ে সন্তান হইলে ওদেরকে ম্যাম জীবন্ত কবর দিয়ে ফেলা হইতো, যে মেয়ে হইছে কেন সেই জন্য।
That's right. Yeah, a live burial. When they used to have female babies, they used to just bury them alive.
Even for the twins, it was like they thought that twins are
bad omen. Yeah.
And also the ancient partners. Infanticide was one of them.
Yeah, infanticide.
They didn't have any more of a physical restriction. They want to talk back and forth. So it doesn't matter if you're not healthy, you're not born healthy, they can get poison.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so this, oh yeah, so I was actually asking you guys a question and then we got distracted. Yeah, so my question was, do you think, you know, if the setting were different, if the setting was not that of a village setting, and if these were not farmers and wives of farmers, and instead, you know, they were the kind of people that work in cities, you know, whether you work in a corporate office or whether you are a researcher or a scientist or whatever. Do you think that the same story could have been written in that context?
No, ma'am.
No?
নো ম্যাম
No?
কজ ম্যাম যদি ম্যাম তখন সবাই সিভিলাইজড হইতো সফিস্টিকেটেড সোসাইটি হইতো ওরা তো বুঝতো যে এরকম মানে কাউকে মেরে বা কারো লাইফের বদলে তোমার ক্রপস অর এনিথিং এলস আসবে না, এটা কিভাবে আসবে ওই সায়েন্টিফিক প্রসেসটা ওদের জানা থাকতো, তো ওরা আমার মনে হয় না এইসব কালচারে বিলিভ করতো।
Interesting.
Did you watch American Psycho?
Huh?
American Psycho, did you watch that movie?
I have watched it, yes.
এটা কি কি ওই কনটেক্সটে ভাবা যায়? আমেরিকান সাইকো কি একই কনটেক্সটে ভাবা যায়?
কিভাবে?
ম্যাম ওখানে যে সবাই ধরেন একই স্যুট বুট, একই চশমা, একই কার্ড, একই ভিজিটিং কার্ড, মানে এক ধরনের আর কি, এবং সবাই ওইটাকে আলটিমেট গোল ভাবতেছে, সবাই ওইটাকে আর কি মানে পিস ভাবতেছে বা ওইটাকে তাদের হচ্ছে চ্যালেঞ্জ ভাবতেছে লাইফের, এবং ওইটাই আলটিমেটলি আসলে ওটা পিস না, আলটিমেটলি ভিতরে ভিতরে যেটা হচ্ছে আর কি যে একটা সাইকো তৈরি হচ্ছে মানুষজন আর কি অনেকটা।
Yeah, could be. You know, that can also be related to Fight Club. I don't know if you've seen Fight Club.
Yes, ma'am. Fight Club দেখছেন?
Yeah, I've read the book as well. It's a very good book.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, so it's about, you know, how this guy, you know, he's just a regular guy who just goes to work, and at one point an alter ego is born. So, and this alter ego is very aggressive, very, yeah, and so there's a fight club where these men who seem very normal, they come just to fight with each other. You know, let it all out, let out the steam, the frustration. Yeah, it's a very, very interesting plot. Yeah, and Rama is saying that, you know, she's saying that civilized people aren't as civilized as they seem. They may have a civilized front, like it's a facade, you know, it's a mask. Yeah, but you know, jototai civilized. Man, I have so many examples to tell you, like how uncivilized, seemingly civilized people can be. So Rahma is saying we all have the potential to do monstrous things, no matter how civilized and sophisticated and forward-thinking we are. I absolutely agree. Yes, yes, indeed. Snata, you wanted to say something? Add to that?
Yes, ma'am. That whole phenomenon of having an alter ego, I think if you've read Satyajit Ray's Beharupia.
Yes, I have.
Yes.
Bohurupi.
In Hindi, it's Beharupia. So, in that story too, it's the same thing.
Yes,
I think.
yes, very much so. So this normal guy who has like, you know, who's doing normal things, leads a very monotonous life. You know, he has this alter ego, and he actually he does all these sorts of makeup on his own face, and he transforms himself physically, and you know, steps into new shoes figuratively to be somebody else, and that somebody else isn't. Yes, very different persona, very different persona. Yes, that's right. You know, this whole concept of the alter ego, you know, this whole other side of you, this demonic side of you, it started off with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Yeah, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Oitai was the first story in literature that talked about the alter ego as in how a seemingly normal human being can become somebody very different. And then, of course, there are 100 other, stories and films that came out, like, even the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk. What are the same? When he gets pissed off, he becomes somebody else. In reality, he's a scientist. He's a genius. He's a scientist. And then, when he gets angry, he turns into this monster. I mean, think about it. Isn't that all of us? How civilized are we, really? We are very pretentious. Identity disorder, yes, split personality disorder, identity disorder. But I think that we all wear these facades. We all wear these masks, and there's a hidden persona within us that tends to come out once in a while, if we get triggered. Okay, Faria bolche, if there's more ways of communication between people of different cultures, they will be more civilized comparatively. Comparatively, yes, that's that word was very important. It's good that you added comparatively. Yes, true, Faria. So, like, I'll give you one example. Okay, that a very, very senior professor who teaches feminism. She teaches feminism. She acts like she's a strong advocate of feminism, female empowerment. I don't know if I should be saying this, but bhitore kintu she's not. Like, it's unbelievable that a person like that could actually slut shame me. You know what slut shaming is?
Every girl knows what slut shaming is.
That's not something that a feminist would do. She কিন্তু চিল্লাই বলে যে আমি feminist. সে মানে ক্লাসের মধ্যে কিন্তু অনেক মনে হবে যে খুব স্ট্রং কনভিকশন নিয়ে সে ফেমিনিজম শিখাচ্ছে, ফেমিনিস্ট লিটারেচার শিখাচ্ছে, কিন্তু I figured out at some point that she actually placed a complaint against me because of the clothes that I wear.
Wow, hypocritic.
Like,
really,
how
miss.
hypocritical, right? So where
She's a hypocrite.
hypocrite to দূরের কথা, এত যে বাইরে পড়াশোনা করে আসছে, বাইরে এত PhD করে আসছে, কি লাভ হইলো? কি শিখছে? ওইটাই যে Rahma, I think, yes, Rahma was saying, no matter how much we say that we're so forward thinking, ভিতরে কিন্তু there are parts of us that that remain very backward. So there you go. That was one example. And then, the Americans, they pretend to be extremely civilized. Are they? Yes. If they're so civilized, why does racism exist in that nation? Why? What happens? I love that point, Rahma. What happens during Black Friday sales? You know what's Black Friday, guys?
The last Friday of November.
Yes, and everything goes on sale, and people act like animals. I shouldn't even say that because animals are better. You shouldn't insult animals in such a way. But like jebhabe kore they fight each other just to get their hands on products. It's insane. And you will see comedians, stand-up comedians making fun of consumers who behave in such savage ways on Black Friday sales. Where is their civility? Koi gelo? Yeah, so I think, oh, maybe not to this extent. You know, human sacrifice এত মানে সিরিয়াস এবং সিভিয়ার একটা রিচুয়াল হয়তো হইতো না in a very sophisticated and civilized society, in a mega city or a metropolitan city. But I always come across so-called civilized people, highly educated, highly qualified, who sometimes behave in totally uncivilized manners. You know, like once I was at this Christmas party at my landlord's place. My landlord is Christian. And there were all of these people invited, and these were, you know, like all their friends are Muslims. Huh? So they were invited, and of course there was alcohol. And these Muslim friends were chugging down alcohol as if there's no tomorrow. Do you understand? মানে কিভাবে করে যে গিলতেছিল, I was like, what is wrong with them? মানে as if সে জীবনে অ্যালকোহল দেখে নাই। And মানে রিলিজনের কথা তো ভুলেই যাও, you know, religious you know laws or restrictions এর কথা ভুলে যাও, but মানে একটা নর্মাল মানুষ, I think even an atheist would not drink like that, you know. So it was very shocking, and then they literally turned into savages. These drunk people, মানে ওরা যে কিভাবে অ্যাক্ট করতেছে, I cannot even tell you. Like একটা লোক ম্যারিড, সে আরেকজনের ওয়াইফের সাথে, you know, ulta-palta kora shuru korche, and then the two men started fighting, and then the police had to come. The police had to come because it got so heated up that the neighbors called the police. Emon bhabe chilla chilli, raga ragi, thapra thapri, mara mari kora shuru korechilo. Insane. They lost it. And yes, Anindo, their id was coming out. Yes. But you know what? I later found out that these same people were like people who belong to the high society. Okay, high society. Like these people are rich, super rich millionaires who own industries and factories and are shareholders of banks. So koi, their civility koi. Where did it go? Where did their qualifications? Where did their education? Where did this? Exactly. So yeah, you know, that's the thing. You know, we're not as civilized as we claim to be. Okay, so I think our time is up, and I have another class. Yes, sure, Sonata, you can leave. I'll mark you as present. All right.
Thank you,
Let me just log into RDS. Okay, so I can stop the recording and the presentation.